What's up, guys? Been a minute since I put anything up, so I thought with everything going on, probably be a good time. And I really just want to point out more than anything that the world isn't black and white. Take this camera I've got going. Not that you can see anything real well with it snowing. It probably looks somewhat black and white, but it's not. It's in color. Color makes things that much more interesting in a way, doesn't it? Because now things aren't just black, white, or the many shades of gray in between, but now you've got all these other colors and all these other shades of all these other colors to sprinkle on top of it all. And that kind of sums up the world about as best as I can. Is that it's very complicated. And there are many shades in that complication. It's like the black, white, left, right. None of them are very good. The best one I can come up with would be good, evil, and even then, they're all the same. They all have so many shades in between. I guess part of the reason I'm pointing this out is, again, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. I know a lot of people are kind of up in arms over what's going on in the Ukraine right now. You know, I don't necessarily want to get too into detail about what I think about going in there, into the Ukraine. It's probably best if I don't say what I believe is going on in the Ukraine. And actually that kind of brings me to a quick another point is, I know I haven't given my perspective all that often on this channel, but you are getting a lot of my perspective. Isn't that what a lot of watching channels like mine is getting people's perspective? I know I don't give it all that often. I try to, I kind of want to be more about opening people's mind to other possibilities than trying to cram my truth down your throat, if that makes sense. Because my truth is no better than somebody else's truth. It's just my perception of the information that I've received thus far. And anytime I put out the information, I could be proven wrong at any moment about my thoughts. So if I put them out there, it's just tough for me to put them out there. I'll just put it that way. Because they change so often. I've learned that a lot over the past 5-6 years especially, is that we're ever evolving, right? Or at least I sure hope we are, because if we aren't, well, that just opens up another laundry list of problems, doesn't it? But anyway, back to the Ukraine. If you look at a lot of what the mainstream's pushing right now, not that I should say a whole lot about that. I don't have cable television. I haven't had cable television in years, but even non-YouTube, you still get the mainstream narrative. What's going on in the Ukraine goes back a very long time, folks. So if you think that things dropping right now is what's starting it, you are seriously misinformed. It's probably best if I don't get into a lot of detail, although I will say two things. I'm sub to a couple of channels that I'm going to talk a little bit about, but before I bring them up, I am also going to mention that I never believe 100% of everything any other YouTube channel says. And I hope if you're subscribed to my channel, that's your belief about me. I don't expect you to believe everything I believe. I wouldn't want you to. I want you to think for yourself. That's kind of the whole point of my channel, is getting you to think for yourself instead of through someone else's eyes or through someone else's narrative, right? So with that said, I've been following Marfoogle News, for example, for quite a few years. Without getting into detail, what's going on in Russia and the Ukraine isn't new news. He's even been covering it for a good few years. Why? Because there's a lot to cover. Without getting too into detail about that, I'm going to move on to Global Witness. If you aren't subbed to him, he's another one that is part of the Foogle fam, so to speak. Another good channel. He did a live stream last night, from while I'm recording this at least, about, it was a documentary called Ukraine on Fire. Now, whether you go search up Global Witness, which I would recommend you do, I do like his channel, but again, that's not to say that I believe or agree with every word that comes out of his mouth. I just find him to be a great channel, and I do recommend checking him out. Whether you check out his version, or better yet, check out Ukraine on Fire, or certain other documentaries that have been done over the years. Again, I don't want to get too much into detail about it, but to put it simply, there's a lot more going on there since the first two world conflicts happened. So think before you judge or jump to conclusions. And without getting too much more detailed on that yet, I'll jump over real quick to what's going on in Canada, which, just like in the Ukraine, I'm not in Canada either. So I'm only speaking on the information that comes to me. But there's a lot of conflicting things being said about what was happening in Canada with the truckers, I'll simply say, and the protests and whatnot. What to believe, I can't say for sure. The only thing I'm going to say for sure is I give a lot of credit to the people in Ottawa in the respect that it remained peaceful. I know there's a lot soon to occur here in the U.S. I know there's a lot of quote-unquote convoys going east toward D.C., it sounds like. I don't expect a whole lot of them to hear this, but if you are part of that and you're watching this, if you have to, find a buddy system to keep yourselves peaceful. If you're a high-tempered person, I recommend finding a calmer person to stick around that can help you keep things civil. Because, well, to put it simply, I think a lot of this is just looking for an excuse to implement things that we really don't want implemented, people. And I guess that's really the ultimate point of this video, is that, well, I'm going to make 2 points for this video. One, things are never black and white. It's always more complicated than you think, whether you choose to believe that or not. And two, we need to keep things peaceful. I'm not trying to repeat what a lot of other people are saying and whatnot, but it's, well, if anybody that followed Jesus or his teachings knows that when the Romans came for him, did he fight? Or did he basically walk right up and say, here I am? He kept things peaceful. They need that aggression. I know everybody, fighting fire with fire is a natural response. It's not always the right one. Not that I want to beat this to a pulp, but again, back to the more I learn, the less I know. I really can't stress how true that statement is. And again, that's why I don't typically try to push my thoughts so much on what's going on. I suppose that's probably part of why I haven't put so many videos up lately, is because sometimes it's hard not to be aggravated at situations and want to say things, right? I mean, we all do. Sometimes it takes me a little time to gather a little extra information, gather my thoughts a little bit, and make sure I'm not steering people wrong, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people that, for example, sorry, make sure the windshield clears. It's starting to snow pretty hard here for a minute. But a lot of people, especially right now, take prepping, for example. A lot of people are, I'll put it this way, there's a lot of quote-unquote cyber attack warnings, right? If something like that were to happen, I would highly recommend having food, having the everyday things you used so that you can get by during that time. I also know a lot of people that are stocking up on defensive style tools, I'll say. And while I don't necessarily blame them, I guess the intent behind having them is something that I may question. Because while I'm never against defending yourself, violence isn't always the answer. And I know how sensitive of a subject that I'm about to get into, so I'm not going to get into it. Because this is a conflict that I could sit here and have with myself. So I can't really argue for or against either way, if that makes any sense. But the snow's starting to come down. I got a puppy here that's probably wondering why I'm just sitting here staring at a lake and not walking her around, so apologies for keeping you inside for this video. Sometimes it's just easier. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. Wouldn't hurt to throw a prayer for all of the innocent people that get caught up in the middle of all of this mess. Because ultimately, isn't that who ends up suffering through about any conflict? I can't think of a one where more often than not it's the regular people that suffer more than those that start it. But anyway, guys, again, hope everybody's doing well. And as always, I hope to talk to you again soon. Take care, guys.